Hello, everyone. Welcome to the recap of UFC Paris. This card almost set a record for most finishes in UFC history, which, is pretty damn good. I am not someone who subscribes to the idea that a finish is required or even guarantees a good fight, but it does help out a fair bit because with a finish, you are definitively going to get something pretty cool, pretty awesome, pretty fun. I'm looking at the wrong card here there we go. On the Tapology, and I will fix that. So, main event, Nassourdine Imavov versus Kyle Borralho. I picked Borralho on the idea that he would have a game plan here, and there were moments in this fight where I thought he did. There were a handful of moments, mostly in the third and the fifth round, where Kyle Borralho actually started to make the fight a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more multifaceted, a little bit more all the things that tends to be a problem for Nassourdine Imavov. But for the most part, he did not. He fought single strikes, maybe two strikes, but like not a lot of volume, not a lot of creativity, not a lot of variety, couple of takedown attempts, but not really. The most he had in the entire round was 2 in the first round, 0 for 5. Got outstruck for the most part. I scored round 1 for Imavov. I scored round 2 for Imavov. And I think it's kind of a weird one. A lot of people, there was some debate online about round 2 being a possible Borralho. No, he got outlanded 2-1 basically. And the damage was all Imavov in that round. Like it's just not. I don't know how you can win a round on per UFC stats, 7 strikes landed and an 0 for 1 takedown rate. I don't know. I gave the third round to Borralho pretty clearly. I think he outlanded Imavov in that round, and the damage was pretty close, strike for strike. And, it's not a simple mathematic thing of you landed more strikes, you win the round. But everything else being relatively equal, and they were, you do generally win on activity, on volume. That is a option. Round 4, Imavov comes out. He wins that round very clearly. So rounds 2 and 4, very much Imavov's. Round 3 for Borralho. Round 1, a little bit of a push, but I felt pretty confident live that Imavov had won it. Round 5, I gave to Borralho. Again, he outworked him. The damage was very, very similar. This was a round where he actually started to do a little bit more combination work than previous, and it worked. Like that was the it was the frustration of watching this fight and being a guy who picked Kyle Borralho is you've got a guy who is every so often for maybe 30, 45 seconds to a minute showing you that there is absolutely a way that he could have won this fight, that he could have capitalized on Imavov's failures pertaining to cardio, pertaining to pace, pertaining to combination striking and defensive combination striking. And either being unwilling, unable to actually do that for the entire fight. So I guess that's why rounds 3 and 5, which Borralho won, in my opinion, were just so frustrating to watch. Imavov gets the win here very, very clearly. I scored at 48-47. You could go 49-46. I don't think that's a problem. I do think the 50-45 card from, I think it was Derek Cleary, who is not one of my favorite judges in the world, but he gave the third round to Borralho, and to Imavov, and I don't know. I think that third round very much is a Borralho round. I can see the fifth round going to Imavov. The second and the fourth have to go to Imavov. And round 1 is close enough to go either way. But yeah, I think it's very, very hard to have a card for Borralho, but the 50-45 was just a little bit too much. That was my thought. There are a lot of people really, really happy right now, and I kind of get it. I am very much in the camp that finds the fighting nerd gimmick a little bit cringe. I also find the fact that they kind of ignore their other fighters, like you'll remember a while ago before the protest lost to Ian Machado Gary, they were like, we're undefeated. Here's the undefeated. And it was Silva, Machado, or not Machado, Silva, Prates, Borralho, and Hoofy. We'll talk about in a bit. And they just kind of ignored the other guys and gals in Bruno Brazil's case that had lost out of their camp. That was to me a little bit weird. It's just a little bit disingenuous, promotionally speaking. If people buy it, people buy it. And and again, the whole gimmick with the glasses on. We're nerds, yeah. No. I am sorry. As somebody who was a nerd, the only one of you that maybe was a nerd is Caio Borralho. Hoofy and Silva are insane athletes. I'm sorry. No, it doesn't work. And Pratis is just like super, super cool. So it's a little bit lame. But they got shown up here because we're going to talk about the co-main event. And I don't have much to say about it. Benoit Saint Denis went out there and he put the pressure on Mauricio Hoofy of the Fighting Nerds. And he took him down 3 times. And he dominated him on the ground for the most part. Lost position a couple times being too aggressive because that is the Benoit Saint Denis deal. He is crazy. He is pathologically aggressive in a way that can be very much counterproductive at times. But he got the job done here with a second round rear naked choke. And this is a heck of a derailing of a hype train because Mauricio Hoofy had a lot of hype coming into this fight. And I picked him to win, so I'm far from immune. I think I saw some problems that a lot of people were kind of ignoring, but like at the same time, I picked him. I can't be like, yeah, no, I saw this coming, and when I picked against him, it doesn't really work that way. Also, there's probably a little sound in the background because somebody messaged me on Discord. Pardon me, that was Steam actually. But I've muted that now, so we'll not have that again, hopefully. And maybe it'll be edited out, but maybe not. But, I don't really have much else to say here. Benoit Saint Denis went out and he crushed him. He did his damn thing. Like, it was like, I scored a 10-8 first round. Maybe not. I don't know. But there was a distinct lack of anything positive for Hoofy coming out of that round at the best. So, there is that. We did have a low blow landed, which, no fight is complete without a foul at some point. There were a bunch in the Borralho Imavov fight, a couple different ones. Modestas Bukauskas versus Paul Craig. This was cool because Bukauskas literally stopped him, like knocked him out right as the bell sounded, or like 2 seconds before the bell sounded. And the referee didn't call the fight until after the bell. And you don't see that too much. Kind of an in-between round stoppage. And then Paul Craig retired. I enjoyed this fight, I guess, more than I expected to. But like my key objection to it still stands that it was a completely pointless fight. I don't think realistically, like Bukauskas gets a little bit of heat off of this, a little bit of hype, a little bit of whatever, because everybody knows who Paul Craig is, and he got that win. So he beat a well-known fighter. But if we're talking about this analytically, did I see anything for Bukauskas that we have not seen before? No. And in fact, actually, I think he fought for a guy who got a stoppage relatively poorly because he went to the ground with Craig. He didn't like just stand up and beat him up more because on the feet he was having it his way, as many people do. As many people do against Paul Craig. But he was willing to clinch with Paul Craig, which I think was a bad idea. I was surprised that Craig didn't pull guard the first time that happened. And I don't know. It's a fight that for me does nothing for Bukauskas because great, you knocked out Paul Craig, you have that power, and so on from top position. The ground and pound was cool, I guess. I guess that is something new. But I actually thought he felt kind of dumb. Borralho versus Mason Jones. This was a hell of a fight for 2 reasons. One, in the cage, Oki has Jones hurt quite early on. Drops him, looking like he's going to finish him. And he doesn't. Jones fights back. He rocks and drops Oki. Tries to finish it with a front headlock. There's some ground and pound. Really loves that Kimura. And Oki gets up, gets taken down, gets elbowed, gets beaten up quite badly down the stretch. Now, I do think I still have to give Oki the round because I think he came. I was prepared for the fight to be over when Oki was in charge of the round. I was prepared for the referee to step in, to stop the fight, to send my money to the nether reaches because I bet on Mason Jones. And I didn't quite have that when Oki was getting dominated. It wouldn't have surprised me to get a tap out or whatever, but I just thought that Oki hurt him worse, and per UFC stats, he also landed more shots. So, that's why I gave it to him. If you gave it to Jones, I have no problems. I think, I came out of the round thinking it was incredibly irrelevant either way because this fight is going to finish. Like you can't have both guys getting hurt that badly in round one and not think that this is gonna end before the final bell. So second round, Oki is he's scared, and the reason I say this is not because there's like a panic in his body language or he said he's scared or anything like that, but if you paid attention to the first round, Oki was pretty aggressively trying to establish the front foot against Mason Jones, which is a good idea because Jones's ability on the back foot is not anywhere near what his ability on the front foot is. And that ended. He let Jones take the front foot. So it's like, this is not good. This is a bad sign for anyone picking Oki. And yeah, without giving too much away, that was the case. So Mason thwarts a takedown with absolute authority, like he crushes him. And then he gets his clinch and he gets a takedown because he's a judo guy. He slides to side control. He gets mount. He floats over. He gets to land elbows from the mount. Oki is just hating life at this point. He is turning his head away. He's not really defending in any way, shape, or form. You can feel the stoppage coming, and the referee steps in to stop the fight. So this was a phenomenal fight. It was also, I think, an absolute indictment of what I think about Balaji Oki's chances of being of living up to his actual potential, because the dude has every physical gift you could ask for. I don't think he really has the right mentality, and I don't think he prepares very well. So can he beat a Michael Aswell again? Absolutely. Can he beat people who are lesser athletes than him and rely on athleticism? Absolutely. Absolutely. But you get someone like Mason Jones, sorry, not the pro wrestler, the fighter, thank you very much, not the guy from Mad Max Fury Road, Mason Jones. You get a guy who is going to be willing to eat that fire and survive it and keep coming and find ways to win. And I'm not convinced Oki has really a great response to that or reaction in any real shape or form. I mean, he does against someone like a Michael Aswell, but against somebody with a relatively complete technical MMA game, I don't think he does. And that is a big problem for him going forward. Again, he still has all the physical tools that you could ask for, but dude needs to get out of the small pond where he is a big fish and find himself some coaching and some training partners that are going to push him beyond just being that athlete. And to be clear, this is not a rare occurrence. There are countless examples of this through UFC history of guys who had all the physical gifts to be exceptionally good fighters. And because they never made the adjustments that I am talking about, the required evolution that I am talking about, they never hit their full stride, their full potential. So this is not an Oki thing. This is a general thing. Before that, we had Axel Sola versus Reese McKee. And this one, in some ways, went better than I expected. It went better in the sense that I was kind of worried because Sola has this tendency to not push the gas especially well at the start of fights. He starts slow. He starts cold. And he didn't really do that here. He was pretty instantly landing clean shots from range and busting McKee's nose up, reddening up that face, which I don't know how much of that is just like the typical pale genetics and skin, where like everything kind of shows, we've had this before. There are fighters who can take immense shots and not show a mark on their face, and there are fighters who get hit by the most basic of jab, and they're looking at it. But I did have Solo winning the first round still. He got a takedown. McKee got right back up. So this was predominantly a striking round. And Sola showed, good stuff. Good range, good timing. Now, I will say there were a couple of problems. This was a relatively low output round. There were apparently 28 strikes landed between the two of them, which is quite low. And Sola's, I don't want to say reliance on takedown, but like the fact that he felt that he needed to change it up and go for a takedown against a guy like Rhys McKee is a problem moving forward. I get that McKee is huge, but he is not athletic in a nutshell. Round 2, kind of more of the same, mostly a stand-up game. Evenish volume. McKee outlanded him by 1 strike, apparently 20-19. Significant strikes were 18-19 in favor of Sola. But Sola is landing, I think, the cleaner stuff, the more damaging stuff, at least the visibly more damaging stuff. And I guess that is again holding Rhys McKee's complexion and propensity to show damage against him. But it did, seem like that case. There was a weird moment where Sola went for a choke standing, which is not going to work against a 6'2" dude. I'm just going to say that you would need ridiculous strength to pull that off. So that was a bit silly. We go to the third round. Nothing's really changing necessarily. Sola is getting more comfortable. He's showing more of his arsenal. There's a couple of head kicks coming into play, so there is a development, but it's very much the same, the kind of thing. And then Sola hurts McKee to the body, and he drops him, and he goes on to pound him out. Now, I thought the stoppage was a bit weak, and McKee was salty about it, and I thought he was right to be. But I do think he was in significant trouble. I don't think that this was a case of, this fight was getting any better for Rhys McKee. This fight was competitive, close, but it was very, very, very clear that outside of being a tough bastard, there wasn't a lot that McKee had to offer against Sola. Sola is just that much cleaner of a striker, of a technician, faster, better athlete, because Rhys McKee is pretty much at the very bottom. Like when you get out-athleted, out-spitted, out-slicked by like Alex Morono, there are problems. And that's the gulf that Rhys McKee is trying to come up with. Rhys McKee is the exact opposite of a Blagioki, where he's more or less doing the right things. Like everything he does makes sense. He's trying to be the best fighter he can be. It's just that the best fighter he can be is very low down in the UFC. Whereas with Oki, you have a guy who's not really developing the way you want him to, not really closing up the gaps in his game, but he is still insanely athletic, so it works. And McKee's just kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, I guess. Patricio Pitbull was supposed to fight Losain Kita. Kita failed weight by something like 4 pounds. Interesting note, and I didn't actually realize this at the time, that Kita is actually a lightweight and was making his debut here at featherweight. And they said on the broadcast, I saw on Twitter, and I just want to get the actual numbers right, that he has not made 145. Yeah, there it is. Since 2023, which for fights ago was 5 fights ago for him. So not like an amazingly long time ago, but a reasonably long time ago that I don't really understand why this booking got made at featherweight. Like if you're signing a lightweight, let him fight at lightweight. There was a rumor going around, and I think it's ended up being false, that they were going to cut Kita off of this weight miss, and that I think would be a bad idea. Now I got called on this because I was pro Brian Battle getting cut. The difference is that Brian Battle had missed weight before. It wasn't a first offense, and he missed weight a weight class up. This was Kita's first weight miss. Granted, his first attempt to make weight for the UFC, but first weight miss, and at a weight class that I don't think is actually where he belongs and that he hasn't been fighting at for a while. So I kind of just chalk this up to the matchmakers. Let a lightweight fight at lightweight. Now, do I think I'm not concerned at all? No, I absolutely am. He missed by 4 pounds. That's not a small amount. But a warning and obviously bookings at 155 would be my suggested response to this, not a cut. If he wants to try 145 in the future, after he's made 55 a couple of times, we can talk about that. But his next booking should be in the UFC, should be at 155, and that is all. He's a phenomenal prospect. Better than Oki, I think, actually. And while I was picking Pitbull to win this fight, I am very, very intrigued to see what he can do going forward. And I hope we get to see that. William Gomes versus Robert Rauhala. This was pretty good. Like, this was a fun fight. Gomes, I thought, won the first and the third round. I thought he was basically kind of just being William Gomes, which is, if you look at the first and the third round, which I gave to him, he outlanded Rauhala, and Rauhala had even strikes with him in the second round. Rauhala got takedowns in the first and the second, but I don't think he really did a lot with them. Like, that was kind of the thing, is like, even in the second round, he had a takedown that lasted it defined the round. It was 3 minutes of top control. And there was just not a lot of ground and pound to it. And I actually thought that Gomes landed the better shots from bottom because he was throwing some elbows. Nothing that should win a round, don't get me wrong. I gave it to Rauhala, but it was a little bit disappointing to see Rauhala get that top position and not really do anything with it. Because he's not a control grappler, really. Like, that's not been his style. So I was a little bit disappointed by that. But at the end of the day, he ran out of gas a little bit. And Gomes is just really hard to handle. He is a huge dude. He is 6 foot tall at featherweight. That is massive. He has a lot of physical tools. And I just kind of wish he would be a little bit more violent, a little bit more exciting, frankly, is what it comes down to. Because a lot of his fights, and also they tend to be fairly like foul heavy, are a bit of a problem. What were the fouls in this one? I remember there were fouls. I'm just blanking on it right this second. Yeah, it was in the third round. There was a really bad eye poke by William Gomes where he threw a punch, and it wasn't even the whole, like, keep your fingers up versus out. He literally split open his fist into a, like, Edward Scissorhand style, like, poke to the eye. That was bad. I would have taken a point, and that would have made this a draw on my scorecard, honestly, because it was particularly bad. And I think it would have made a majority draw overall, because I think only Ben Cartledge gave all 3 rounds to Gomes, which is not a ridiculous card. Like I said, Rauhala did not do a lot on top position in the second round. I don't think that was a guaranteed round for him, but Gomes gets another win. It's not a terrible fight. It's not a great fight either. Omar C versus Brenton Ribeiro. Don't really have a lot to say about this. C is a monster. He is a fantastic 205 prospect. And he got takedowns and he mollywopped him. I had submission because Ribeiro tends to give up his neck in fights like this, but at the end of the day, that did not happen, and he ended up getting a TKO. So there you go. Marcin Tybura versus Ante Delija. Delija getting the win here by basically just fast hands, in a nutshell. Like, he comes out and he's immediately looking like way faster than Tybura, which admittedly Tybura is a slow fighter, so that is what it is. There was a little bit of a wall install and a little bit of the do-si-do dance in the clinch a little bit. Delija defends, reverses, breaks away, and then boom, hooks, uppercuts, destroys Marcin Tybura. It's a big deal because this was the fight I was really hoping for to be right about, because I'm not saying Delija is a future champion. He is, in all likelihood, not. But the heavyweight division is badly in need of reasonably technical, hard-hitting guys. Like, he's a nice cross between Alexander Volkov and, I guess, Derek Lewis, who is like, all power. Delajah's got good power and he's got good, technique. I am here for what he's got. And then Cowie Fernandez just brutalized Harry Hardwick's legs, stopped him with low kicks. It was nasty. It was also Herb Dean just having no mercy, because at one point Hardwick, like right before the stoppage, Hardwick's on the ground crawling to try to get up, and Fernandez knows he's done, and it's a class moment for Fernandez not to continue to beat this man up. But Herb Dean is like looking at him like, no, I haven't seen enough. I need to see that leg go into the front row. So that was kind of the only sour taste about it, but a very dominant performance for Fernandez. Do I think he is really going places? I still don't. And I can't quite put my finger on it, because the dude has seriously nasty low kicks, reasonably well-rounded. There's no physical limitations to him. But there's something every time I watch him fight that is scratching at the back of my brain saying, this guy's going to get reality checked at some point. And it would have been really interesting to see him fight Fares Ziam, which was the original booking, because Fares Ziam is kind of the guy I have the exact same take for. Then we get into my losses here. Sam Patterson knocks out Trey Waters in the first round. I just have to start respecting Sam Patterson, I guess, as a really dangerous, actually like powerful hitter and so on. It's a very deceptive power that he's got going on there. And you hurt Waters and pounded him out. There you go. And called out Neil Magny, which you do not want. Why is everyone calling out Neil Magny? No one should want that fight. So I've talked about this before. Neil Magny is a fantastic litmus test fighter. And a lot of young fighters should have that kind of fight. They should not be calling for it. That's the thing that stuns and confuses me. And then we get into Brad Tavares versus Robert Brychek. Near 10-8 round for Brychek at the start. He is looking fire. He is out there smashing away. 48 strikes landed, 39 of the significant, knocked down, top control for a little bit, even off a takedown. Just a dominant appeal. And Tavares barely survives. Round 2, Tavares starts to basically just land a lot of strikes. It looks like Brychek's a little bit out of gas. He's not landing. He's landing he's missing quite badly on a lot of his shots. And it's not a good round by any means, but it's a round that has to go to Tavares. And then in round 3, Brychek, I guess, realized that, I'm kind of in danger of possibly losing this fight if I have another round like round 2. And he's stuffing Tavares' takedowns, and he just hurts him, blasts him. The referee has seen enough. The referee stopped in again a little bit early, but almost like the Reese McKee Axel Sola stoppage. It was going that way. We're purely a formality at that point, that on textbook application of a stoppage, we should have seen more trauma. And I'm kind of interested to see what happens with Brychek here, not as a fighter, but as a betting proposition, because I do wonder if a bunch of people are going to start betting heavily on Brychek in his next fight. And I can make some money off that, because he is not good. There are good things about him. He has good power. He has good in close boxing. He has obvious speed, explosiveness, and so on. And he's fairly durable, fairly tough. And he's not like a terrible fighter by any means, but I feel like this is him beating the ghost of Brad Tavares. And there are a lot of people on the Twitter and the social medias who are like treating it as a win over Brad Tavares, if you know what I mean. Not the ghost of, but a win over Brad Tavares. And to them, I have to remind everybody that Brad Tavares got knocked out by Bruno Silva before Bruno Silva completely fell apart. And I'm not going to say anything negative about him getting knocked out by Gregory Rodriguez. That's cool. That's fine. But he also got kind of worked by Jung Young Park, and that is, I say this as an Iron Turtle fan. I say this as someone very, very into the Iron Turtle as a fighter. That is a fight that Brad Tavares absolutely wins. an undersized middleweight who is kind of takedown reliant. Like that is the bread and butter. So he is kind of done. And beating Gerald Meerschaert at this point doesn't really prove anything either. Renat Fakhretdinov versus Andreas Gustafsson. Gustafsson comes out like a madman and gets hurt and gets finished. And if that was your pick, I want to see the betting slip. because I don't know anyone who had Renat Fakhretdinov TKO in the first round. So I felt completely justified being wrong about that fight. I did have a bad feeling about it going in, though, that like Fakhretdinov is just a much better wrestler than Gustafsson is. And the main weakness that he has is, one is cardio, which he avoided here, but it is like striking, and Gustafsson's striking is, it's bad. There was I think it was Sean Bitter on Twitter. He gets his tweets put up on UFC broadcast sometimes. We have some good chats. I don't think he has any idea who I am, but we do have a few nice Twitter threads. But he said, I think it was him. He said that this is what people think Reiner de Ritter is, and I was like, it's not. No, it's this is like Trevor Peak combined with I think I said RDR and Trevor Peak, but like I don't even think that is appropriate. It's like it is Reiner de Ritter combined with Colton Smith, and it only works because Gustafsson can absorb insane amounts of punishment and has an incredible gas tank, because nothing about what he does as a striker is efficient in any way, shape, or form. But there is some talk about him being a Nazi. If you know what's up with that, please let me know. Because I'm hoping it's not just like the tattoos. Well, actually, to be clear here, part of me is hoping that it's just the tattoos, and that way he's not a Nazi. But I know there was some. I had it when Robert Valentine got cussed on The Ultimate Fighter. You see like certain tattoos, and you're like, oh boy, and then you look closer, and you're like, no, this is hopefully fine. It's MMA, so I don't want to get my hopes up. But anyways, if anyone has the 411 on that, please let me know. And then then Sam Hughes did what I expected her to do to Shannon Bannon to open it up. I had TKO and we got a submission. That would be about the only difference. But Sam Hughes outworked her, outlanded her shots, got takedowns. If you're gonna give Sam Hughes like physical edges, she's gonna beat you because she is actually a well-tuned fighter. I will say there was a funny thing because there were again a couple of Twitter threads about Bannon saying that Hughes was a very generic American fighter, and they're like, what is that supposed to mean? And I'm like, I mean, she is right. Sam Hughes is very generic. It's just that generic is going to beat you. Like there is nothing wrong with inherently with being a generic fighter at all. Like if it works, if you're doing like the textbook stuff correctly, and that is Sam Hughes. If you're not a better athlete than her, she is going to beat you. And I said the Elise Reed fight was like a great prep for this, frankly. And that's been the case for her. Like her losses are to Pierre Rodriguez, who is a monster and also very dumb with the headbutts. I guess you could argue Loma Luke Bume is not a better athlete than her, but Loma Luke Bume is like a special level of technical ability. And then there's Tisha Pennington, who's pretty monstrous herself, Luana Pinheiro, who's a monster, and Yasmin Howard, who has a lot of physical ability. And then everyone else, it's like she beat Estela Nunez, she beat Elise Reed, she beat Jacqueline Amarin, who is actually a pretty good athlete as well. If I recall correctly, and I didn't watch that fight leading up into this, Amarin had a really good first round and then got spanked in rounds 2 and 3. And that's what the numbers look like as well. And then Victoria Duke, Stephanie Luciano, and now Shannon Bannon. Shannon Bannon's an interesting one because like there seems to be a fair amount of popularity for her as like the mom fighter. And I get that. I like that actually, because it inspires maybe women who have had kids to, see combat sports as still something that they can make whatever it is that they particularly want to make out of it. But she has a lot of limitations as an athlete. She's not very strong. She's not very powerful. She's not even really all that fast. She has some neat kicks and so on, like I said. But there are a lot of holes in her for anyone who is going to close the gap and make things ugly. And I picked Sam Hughes to do that, and she did do that. So there you go. So that was the fight card. What is next up? I think it's there it is. It's the Noche. Diego Lopez versus John Silva. Looking forward to that a lot. I don't know if I'm really looking forward to the rest of the card. It's a lot of guys I'm interested in, but in matchups that are not really terribly appropriate. David Martinez versus Rob Font's a great example of that. I'm not uninterested in David Martinez. I don't have a problem with it, but he's also this is the third fight. It was supposed to be Carlos Vera, and it was supposed to be Quan Lee. So yeah, that's a messy co-main event. And then you have Jared Gordon versus Rafa Garcia, which is your classic. I am more than fine having Jared Gordon on a card. I am more than fine having Rafa Garcia on a card, but they are litmus test fighters. They are the Paul Craigs, the Neil Magnies, the Modestus Bukauskas even. So having them fight each other, that's a bit of a waste of time. Kelvin Gastelum versus Dustin Stolfus. Yeah. That's all I have to say to that. Alexander Hernandez versus Carlos Diego Vea. Okay, that's fun. Santiago Luna versus Quan Lee. I don't know enough about Luna. Is he... Let's just have a quick look at the record here. 6-0 guy, LXF, and Tough Enough UWC. So very regional, very, very limited outside of a win over Magomed Baiduev. I'll have to look up that one, I think, maybe, because that one might tell me something. But Baiduev at least has fights under his belt and wins under his belt. The rest of this the record does not. So maybe that's a good fight. Jose Medina versus Dushko Torovic. Oh God, why? Claudio Puelles versus Joaquin Silva. That's fun. I like that fight. I do like that fight. Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos. Why is that not the co-main? That's fine. They're both at a little bit of a low point, but that's fine. Jesus Aguilar versus Luis Garule. I like that one. That one's fun. Zach Reese versus Cedricus Dumas. Why? Also, side note, how is Zach Reese, who beat the living crap out of Jose Medina, below him on the card? Alessandro Costa versus Alden Correa. That's fine. It's a flyweight fight. It'll be fine. Alice Pereira versus Montserrat Rendon. Oh, is this Alex Bajea's sister? I don't know. I'll have to look into that. But Rendon, I would not have Rendon being anyone's welcome to the UFC moment. And Rodrigo Cezinado versus Daniil Doncheko, a 170 fight, which is a tournament final of some kind. What? Is this a road to the UFC type thing? I have no idea. I'll have to look into that. But yeah. So I guess after a really good card, we're kind of following it up with not such a great card. Anyways, you know the drill. Social media, video gaming stuff down below. There is the MMA Discord simulator that I run over on Discord. If you want to join up there and make a fighter and have fun and kind of role play your way through a career, like a lot of people are doing, please do. I think if you've routinely listened to my podcast, you would actually really enjoy it. So until next time, have a good one, and go Packers.